All right, so this week we're diving into something a little different. We're tackling some political satire fresh from the SNL stage.
Sounds intriguing.
It is, and you know how much people are already dissecting that Family Feud cold open, right?
Oh yeah, it's everywhere.
Exactly. So you had to unpack it. But first, a quick recap for anyone who missed it. It's October 12th. Ariana Grande's hosting Stevie Nicks is the musical guest.
Nice, a little throwback vibe.
Right. And just like that, bam, we're hit with Kenan Thompson as Steve Harvey welcoming us to Family Feud.
Classic, you gotta love Kenan.
Seriously. But here's the twist. It's the Democrats versus the Republicans.
Yeah.
SNL brought out their A game for this one. Maya Rudolph as Kamala Harris, always a winner.
Oh yeah, she kills it as Kamala.
Every time. And then they've got Jim Gaffigan playing Tim Walz. Interesting choice, right?
Not unexpected for sure.
And of course, no political parody would be complete without Dana Carvey's spot-on Joe Biden.
It's like he's been waiting for this moment.
Right. And on the Republican side, you've got James Austin Johnson nailing the Trump mannerisms.
He really does have that down.
And Bowen Yang bringing the funny as J.D. Vance, and Mikey Day is Donald Trump Jr. But there's someone missing someone whose absence speaks volumes.
Okay, let me guess, Melania.
Bingo. And, you know, SNL couldn't resist a little dig about it. Even Steve Harvey gets in on that line about the Diddy parties being his alibi. Comedic gold.
Pure gold. But you're right, that Melania jab, that's where we start to see the show getting a little pointed. It's not just about the impersonations anymore. It's about who's there, who's not, and what that says about the political scene right now.
Exactly. And then things get really interesting when they launch into those memorable moments, like Kamala's media blitz strategy. I know a media blitz doesn't sound inherently hilarious.
Not at first glance, no.
But SNL, they find a way. They zero in on those carefully crafted appearances politicians use to try to connect with specific voters. Yeah. And they do not hold back on who those target demographics might be. Horny cab drivers. It's a delicate balance.
Yeah.
And we can't forget about that glove compartment question. Harris and Emhoff both answering a Glock.
Oh yeah, that one got people talking for sure.
Classic SNL. Taking something as sensitive as gun control, throwing in some, anxieties about personal safety, especially for public figures these days, and somehow making it funny.
It's a masterclass in, subverting expectations. I mean, whether it worked for everyone is debatable for sure, but it definitely got people thinking about the original intent, which is often the point.
Right. And because it wouldn't be Family Feud without a good old-fashioned rant, we have Trump going off about never getting to ride in the front seat.
Yeah.
Which, okay, relatable. But then it spirals into, well, let's just say it ends with a dementia comment. And Steve Harvey at his exasperated best.
There's pushing the boundaries, and then there's whatever that was.
That SNL, what can you say? But seriously, that's them.
Sometimes laughter is the best way to make people pay attention and maybe even think a little deeper about what's going on.
It's like they're holding up this, funhouse mirror to the whole political system. Like, hey, everyone take a look. It's messy, it's weird, and sometimes it's actually hilarious.
And the beauty of it is it lets them tackle these really complex, even controversial issues in a way that's, easier to swallow than a straight-up news report.
Right. It's like because we're laughing, we actually let our guard down a bit.
Exactly. We're more open to the message, even if it's something we might not usually agree with.
So it's not just about the laughs. It's about making us think, too.
Absolutely. Think about the reaction to Harris's media blitz strategy in the skit. Some people, they might have seen it as a dig at her personally.
Yeah, I can see that.
But it also got this bigger conversation going about how female politicians are portrayed, the double standards they face. Can they be ambitious, assertive, without being labeled as aggressive? It's something that goes way beyond just this one skit.
That's a really good point. It's like they're using humor to kind of highlight these unspoken rules, the things we don't even realize are shaping how we see things.
Exactly. And that's what makes satire more than just a few jokes. It becomes a commentary on society. By exaggerating these things, it forces us to actually confront them.
Okay, so we've established that SNL's good at pushing buttons and getting a laugh. But did this skit actually work as political satire? Was it more than just funny voices in crazy situations?
That's the question, isn't it? And honestly, there's no single right answer. Humor's subjective. What's hilarious to one person is offensive to another.
So true.
But the fact that people are talking about it, debating, even disagreeing, means it struck a nerve. And that's often the whole point of good satire.
So even if you didn't laugh, it still did something.
Yeah, it got the conversation started. And those conversations can help people become more aware of the issues. Whether you agree with the show or not, you're still thinking about the ideas they're putting out there. You might even question your own assumptions, which is never a bad thing.
That's a good point. Sometimes those uncomfortable conversations are the ones we need to have the most.
Yeah.
Speaking of uncomfortable, there's one more thing we got to address. Was the skit biased? Did it lean heavily on one side or the other?
That's where it gets really interesting because on the surface, you could say it made more fun of one side.
Right, at first glance.
But if you look closer, I think it's more nuanced than that.
Okay, you're intriguing me. Break it down.
Let's think about Melania being MIA. It wasn't a direct joke, but her not being there, plus Trump's line about where she is, it speaks volumes about his situation and how she's totally stepped back from the public eye. It's satire by, like, omission, you know?
Wow, so they're using silence as commentary? That's kind of brilliant.
Right. They're highlighting something without actually saying it, which can be even more powerful than a direct joke. It makes you think, why isn't she there? What's that saying? And suddenly you're thinking about all the stuff that's not being said, the stories behind the scenes.
So even when they don't say something, this SNL skit still makes a statement. This is making me rethink my whole definition of political satire.
It's not always about the big laugh-out-loud moments, although those are fun. It's about using humor to hold up a mirror to society, show hypocrisy, challenge what we think is true, and maybe even, make us think twice about the world.
It's like they're saying, we see right through you. We see how ridiculous this is, and we're going to call it out.
Right. And using comedy to do it, it's disarming.
For sure. And sometimes being disarming, that's the best way to actually get people to listen.
Totally. Because, let's be real, politics can be a lot. The news never stops. Everyone's arguing. It's easy to feel overwhelmed. But satire, it gives you a little break from all of that.
A little breathing room.
Exactly. You can step back from the chaos and just be like, wow, this is kind of nuts.
And funny sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
And in that moment, when you're laughing at the same thing as everyone else, you feel less alone.
It's a shared experience.
Exactly. It reminds you that other people are seeing what you're seeing, feeling that same frustration or, amusement. It helps you process these complicated things in a way that's, well, more fun.
More entertaining, for sure. So you're saying that watching SNL or any political satire, it's actually a good way to engage with politics?
I wouldn't cancel your newspaper subscription just yet. Yeah. But there's definitely something to be said for how satire makes you think, makes you question what you're seeing and hearing, and maybe even laugh at how absurd it all is.
Because sometimes laughter is the best way to deal with a world that feels kind of crazy. But like we've been saying, it's not just about the laughs, is it?
Right. It's deeper than that.
It's about understanding the power dynamics, the social commentary, all that stuff woven into the jokes.
It's happening. We can still find humor, connect with each other, and come to our own conclusions.
We're not just sitting there passively. We're actively engaging with the material.
Exactly. And that's what makes satire so important, especially these days. It pushes us to think critically, to question those in charge, and to find humor in unexpected places.
Well said. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive into this SNL skit. We've covered a lot of ground, from the impact of satire and those spot-on impersonations to, well, the curious case of the missing Melania. But also make people think. Let us know. We'd love to hear your ideas. Until next time, keep laughing, keep those brains engaged, and keep on diving deep